I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pennies in my bank account. Oh yeah. What's up, my dudes? This is the track review of the Red Bull Hare Scramble something 2017. So just fair warning you, don't bust a nut off of just the title of this track right here. It's one of those, you just got to see it for yourself, man. Don't just see the Red Bull Hare Scramble series and freak out and think it's the best track ever. Like, I feel like this track right here is too hard for its own good. And I know with trail tracks, they're more difficult and they can be crazy challenging, and that's kind of the point to them. I totally understand that. I've made, you know, a boo-koodles of trail tracks out there in the past that are really difficult. But I feel like with trail tracks, it's kind of, it's to a point where it's like, okay, is this just really challenging and fun, or is it like so challenging that it's just not, there's no fun factor there? You know what I mean? It's like so difficult that it's just, it gets a little bit ridiculous to a certain point, and it's like, I'm not trying to play Trials Revolution and fucking try to get up this hill 10 million times, you know? There's kind of a point there with it, difficulty-wise, where it just, the fun factor starts to get greatly diminished on some of this stuff. But I almost feel like this track is more fantasy in a sense than it is like a realistic replica of the Hare Scramble, the Red Bull Hare Scramble series. You know, I feel like this is so extreme difficulty that it's more fantasy. And whenever I say difficulty, it's not like the track is just difficult and challenging, you know. It's not just like that. It's the way the track maker actually built it is what makes it difficult, more so than the sections you're actually hitting, if that makes any sense at all. Like, it's hard to explain it, but it's just, I mean, the tile map on this track does not help its case at all. It's not good for this kind of, like, on all these uphills and stuff where you need traction. It feels a little bit bizarre of a tile map to begin with, so you know, you combine that with all these crazy uphills and downhills, and it doesn't work out very good, man. Now, a good thing about this track is this sort of like middle of the track kind of layout right here. It looks really good and super accurate to what the actual, the Harrisburg, how do you say that shit? I don't even know how to say it, but, you know, that big Red Bull Hare Scramble thing that they have, you know, it looks really similar to that. And that's, when you first get on the track, you're thinking like, oh man, this is going to be sick. This is just going to be exactly like that track. But once you actually get on it, for me anyways, it was just a different story. Like, I don't know. I mean, just the way that, like, some of these transitions from like a flat surface to a uphill surface or whatever, they'll be built so weird that it'll like kill your momentum, and then it's like, oh well, the skill is to slow down first. And yeah, I get that, but you don't really have that kind of stuff so much in real life as janky as it's built here. If that makes sense. It's just hard to explain how this track is made, man. But your difficulty level is like through the roof on some of these sections. It's just hard to even like stay on the track where you need to be on the track. That's what I'm saying. It's not so much like the pure sections themselves are difficult. It's almost like how the layout of the actual track is built and how the decals are somewhat similar, so it can be hard to tell where you've been, and like there's flat sections. It's just kind of hard to tell sometimes. And I mean, I think like from the beginning of the track to this point right here was completely fine. I thought that was like pretty good. You know, if the whole track would have been built somewhat similar to that, I would have been completely okay with that. But then it starts getting into this like this sort of, I don't even know how to explain it. Very similar to my ski slope custom track, if any of you guys remember that. Like the whole fucking track. And by the way, what the fuck's up with this section right here? Like, what were you doing, dog? I don't know what this section is here. I don't know what's going on here. But this is definitely not what I would call your average, accurate wood-style section. I don't know, dude. It's just like super flat uphill with some logs. That's basically all it is. But you have to keep your momentum up the hill. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just a weirdly built track. So I was just like, oh, fuck it. I'm not even going to get on the track. And then I still fucking boned myself right there. Still hit a log anyways, but hiding behind the bushes, dude. But it's, you know, it was reminding me of my ski slope track. But the difference in my ski slope track was you were going downhill basically the entire track. So you never had to really keep your momentum. So it made it more of like an easier, just flowing sort of sensation. Almost hit that log again. But with this one, it's like my ski slope track, but you're constantly going like up that hill or sideways on that crazy, you know, mountain terrain. And it just makes it so difficult. Like it's so difficult to even stay on the track, basically, is what I'm getting at here. And some people may absolutely love this track. And by all means, you know, good for you. I'm glad for you. Enjoy it. But it's just, I don't know. It's like the way it's built, man. Just the way it's built. And the layout and the looks of everything, you can kind of get caught up into thinking, oh man, this is a crazy cool track. This is insane. This is whatever. And yeah, it is crazy different and, you know, almost looks like the real life Hare Scramble track, but you just got to look at how the track is actually made. You know what I mean? You got to look at how each one of these sections are made and how the actual dirt feels and all those combinations of things. And you start to realize like it's not as good as it may seem from the outside, you know what I'm saying? But it's just, I don't know, man. This is a bizarre one right here. It's just, I don't know. And I'm not just mad at the track because I was having trouble on it. That's not, I'm looking at it from a general blanketed like skill level and how MX Simulator, the game, actually works. And how when you're going really slow in this game, it doesn't really work like you would think in real life. Like how a real life dirt bike does when you're going slow. Like this game, it's a totally different animal. So you almost have to build your tracks around that. Like when you get in sections that you start going really slow, you got to keep that in mind when you're making tracks in this game. You know, you can't just build it like you would exactly like a real-life trail track. It doesn't always work like that. This insanity-ass rock section right here, I thought this section right here was okay. I thought it, you know, it wasn't too bad. Even though it's kind of crazy difficult, I thought just the way it was made and everything was pretty decent. Like, it wasn't what I would call just crazy out there fantasy. Like, even though it's rad, super difficult, it just still seems like in the realm of possibilities and realisticness. But some of like the peakness and the angle and the actual overall size of some of these hills, it just gets to a point where it's like, dude, like that's not really fun anymore. Because it just gets so ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe everybody else loves this track. I don't know. But for me, it just wasn't my vibe. Wasn't my style. But hats off to you for making something different and a trail track. I know there's not a lot of them out there. I've made probably 5 or 6. They're on my front page on my custom tracks. You know, you got morning trail, evening trail, Pharaoh's trail. What else do I have? Frozen trail. You know, I've got fairly decent time with making trail tracks in this game, and I feel like a lot of other people don't have a lot of time with making trail tracks. And I'm not saying I'm the best trail track maker ever. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, you know, this dude right here, I highly doubt he's made more than, you know, 1 or 2 trail tracks. And it's just something like, I mean, look at this hillside right here, dude. It's not like you just, you know, you got a little bit of room to really hit the gas and go on an uphill, and then once you get up there, it's like a resting point. It's not so much like that. It's like you hit a hillside, and then you finally make it up to the somewhat of the top of that hill, but you're only halfway up the big hill. Then you got to turn sideways, and then try to like slowly creep your way, but you're like on the side of a fucking Mount Everest style hill, and you don't have any momentum anymore. That's what I'm saying. It's not so much like skill. because the skill is like keeping your momentum on a trail track. That's the whole skill to hitting hill climbs and stuff. But when you come to a complete stop, like this little section right here, it's just like, it kind of kills that whole like skill vibe to it. And then you're trying to like, you know, deal with that silly little like super slow motion mode on MX Simulator where you're trying to hold the bike up and it's like trying to constantly fall over. Then you're trying to keep your momentum. It's like, what the fuck is this track, man? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just me. But it got that default skybox, dog. What's up? But no, it's, I mean, I can see the effort was put into trying to make something like, you know, the real Red Bull Hare Scramble. I just don't know how good it was actually executed, if you understand what I'm saying here. Like, it's just, I feel like in an overall sense, all of these big hill sections are just a little bit too peaked. You know, if you were going to have that where it was like, you go up a hill and then you turn a little bit, and then you go up a little bit more, and then you turn a little bit, and then you go up a little bit more. You can't have it that peaked up the entire hillside. Or it creates this, like, this thing of, like, well, so you hit the gas, and then you finally make it up this hill, but then you have no momentum to go up the next hill. So it gets kind of like that. So you either have to have it to where it's, like, not as steep, or you got to make it to where you basically have, like, just sections where you get up the hill so far, and then it gets, like, perfectly flat smooth again. So you reset your momentum. But when you have, like, just a constant, like 1,000-yard up a hill section, and the track is like weaving and going up that, but yet where the actual track is, a lot of places on this entire track here, it's not actually indented in the ground any where the track is. Like, it's just a straight uphill section, but like, see, like right here, this is a little bit more like what I was expecting the whole track to be as far as like uphill sections. And then it gets to this fucking ridiculous part or it's like, why was it built like this, dude? Like, you couldn't have just smoothed that out just a little bit where you could just simplistically just kind of get up over the hill instead of, like, making a completely kill your momentum point and then stop and then, I don't know, man. To me, it just, like I'm saying, let me show you guys that so I can actually explain what I'm talking about here. Now, all of this right here was cool as fuck. I mean, I thought... Now, this section right here is a little bit silly. It's like, okay, if you don't hit this exact section right here, you basically just cannot get up this hill. I've never really been the biggest fan of sections like that where you have to go in one little area, even though it looks like you can hit 10,000 other lines. Not the biggest fan of that, but as far as just like the way all of this looks right here, it looks pretty good. Like, it's not bad. But when you start getting on this, let me just show you. So, you see how you're going on this uphill right here, but there's no indention down in the ground. It looks like over there is a little bit, but right here, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. And then there's this little slope right here before you actually get on the uphill, so it's basically already like somewhat killing your momentum before you ever even get on it, and mixed with the tile map, the filling of the dirt, it's not the best traction I've ever felt before, so... It just creates this almost like mind-boggling, annoying, you know what I mean? It's, I don't know how to explain it, man. So theoretically, you're supposed to like get up to here and then climb up this and then get to another stopping. I mean, it's just like, what? What the fuck, man? I don't know. It's just not my kind of style, dude. Then you get right there. See, now, right here in this section, it's looking a little bit more like what I would think. And then it wouldn't be so bad if you were going downhill on something like this, because you wouldn't have to worry so much about keeping that momentum going. I don't know, man. It's just like some of those sections are just downright like, what the hell? So let me go back over here to this little section, just see what it looks like. Like right there, I don't like how that... It's all based upon this, like, get to this certain point, and then, like, you have a tiny little area where you can't get a run at the next hill at all because you're completely stopped by some random little kicker hillside thing. Like, I don't know, man. Then you're going up this thing, and then where the fuck does it go? Oh, okay. You turn right here, You got to be going like super slow, which this doesn't look too bad. Like this looks kind of cool right here. But, okay, then you turn again right here. I don't know, man. It's just the way it's built. It's almost like it almost kind of feels like what a stock track would be built like, but it's like in trail form in a sense. I don't know how to explain that, like, any better than that. So is that a fucking jump? Like, no, I don't think so. So then you go back up this again. I don't know, dude. It's just like too much of that hillside shit. You know what I'm saying? Like insanity hillside shit, not just like medium. I feel like with a trail track, you almost need it to be like where you go up a little bit of a hillside and then you do that and then you're kind of back on flat. And then you go up a hillside and then you're kind of back on flat. Whereas this track, it's like you're on somewhat sort of flat at the beginning, and then it's just like 3 hours of hillside. 3 hours of insanity Mount Everest hillside. It's like, man, that just seems a little bit overkill on that. I don't know, dude. It's just, I don't know. If you're going to have this much of a hillside, it seems like to me you would dig down the dirt more in these areas so you could actually get down in it and have more of a sticky dirt tile map so you could get around this stuff a little bit easier. Like I'm saying, to me, this is way more of a fantasy style than it ever is like a realistic trail track. So just be prepared for that. Like it's a lot harder than it might seem from the outside. But anyways, enough of me, shitting on the track. I respect the effort, I really do, but it just, for me, it just wasn't what I thought or expected in my head, really at all on some of this, big uphill stuff. But I would still give the track for what it is in an overall sense. I would still give it a 6 overall. I think that, it's a little bit above average just in the sheer scale of it and everything and the work that you can obviously see that was put into it. But as far as execution of the on-track portion, that's where it's really getting slayed here, rating-wise, for me anyways. It's just every part of the track is a little bit too difficult for what I would think, this kind of track would really be. But and I'm a pro at this game, and it's like super, super difficult for me. So I could see somebody that was beginner hopping on this, and it's just, you couldn't even get through that first hill over there. You couldn't even do it. The first hill. It's like, damn, man. I don't know. And I know the real life Hare Scramble series is insanity difficulty. I understand that. But MX Simulator, even though it's a simulator, it is a little bit different in the way the bike reacts at a slow speed, so you always got to remember that when you're making custom tracks. But difficulty is definitely Pastrana times 10. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.